Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me in my humble channel. I'm so glad to actually have my friend come over and do a little exchange of ideas and thoughts about health. So, who more than my friend Mary Cerdeiras? Did I pronounce that right? Because I always
You
kind of
did.
twisted.
Yeah. No, it's perfect.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary, for being here. You have been a friend of mine for a few years, and I remember when we did that podcast on in 2020 that definitely brought up a lot of things and hence here we are. And there's so much to talk about. In reference to that podcast, I'll put it on a link below so they can, listen to us back then to what we were going through and the things that you were thinking of doing. And actually, here we are 5 years later, excuse me, and you're actually doing a lot of the things that you said you were going to do. So, thank you, Mary, for coming. Do you want to talk about who you are right now, what you're doing, so we can proceed?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm
Mhm.
very honored that you want me to come and talk and listen to what I have to say. Yeah, we've been friends for quite a while, not just a few years. I think we're going on close to
Wow.
7 or 8.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we've
right. That's
known each
right.
other for a while. Good friend. Gone
Yes,
through a lot.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, I guess let's take it back to the podcast in 2020 when COVID hit and everything broke loose and we were like, what's going on? And you decided to do a podcast. It's called
Homebound and no no
Homebound
toilet
and no
paper
toilet paper. I thought that was fabulous because with the toilet paper,
and being home. That was
fiasco.
the combination.
Yes. And so everybody was going online and connecting online. And so back then, in 2020, I was working in a corporate law firm in Miami. And when COVID hit, they sent us all home. And it was really surreal because I get home and I'm going, I can't believe I'm working from home. And it was kind of weird, but I liked it because I go, God, I could just get up. I don't have to get into traffic and
Mhm.
dress up. And, of course we have to dress up, but we don't have to really dress up. You know what I'm saying? We just put a nice shirt on and that's it. Cause we did Zoom calls from here on up. So
Yeah.
it was fabulous. So it was a little crazy, that little change there, but we did it. And, the whole COVID for about a year. I did it online and we communicated online a lot. We talked a lot. We
Yeah.
connected. You introduced me to some things that were happening and
Hmm.
our awakening. We just like popped out of like a, I don't know, popped our heads out of
Like
the
a
grass or
popcorn.
out of the hole. We got teleported.
Yeah.
And and so we connected a lot and we kind of you introduced me to I think he was called a Street Fighter,
Oh yeah,
Patriot Street
Patriot Sea
Fighter,
Fighter, and
and I
then
started watching him, and then
yeah, we were kind of networking
we were
with all these.
networking. We did a lot of rabbit holing, and we found different people, and
Mhm.
-48, and Prime, and all those guys, and
That's how I
and it
met
was
Elena Dena,
fun and
actually.
exciting. Yeah, that's how
That's
you
how I
met
met.
Elena Denon.
Yeah.
Yeah, you connected me to Elena Denon. I started watching her. I bought her book. So many things have happened over the years,
Hmm.
and well, what's changed is that now it's what, 2025, and I did go back to the office after a year, and I was there another, let's see, 2021, 22. In 2023 I left the work field. I left the matrix, and now I'm on my own doing what I love. I'm doing yoga,
Hmm.
you know. I've incorporated art with my yoga and I feel amazing. I'm a vegan now. I'm a vegan 5 years actually. So as soon as they sent us home for COVID, I stopped eating meat. And I was
I
slowly
remember.
transitioning anyway. Yeah.
I remember
And
you.
and yeah, it was just a no-brainer because I was already on that path. So
Yeah.
I said, I'm home. I can control more of what I eat. So I didn't look back.
I'm going to go back
And
a little bit so people can know what you're actually doing. So, not only obviously your mother, you're a grandmother, you became a yoga teacher.
I became a yoga
And prior
teacher
to that, you
11 years ago,
11
like,
years
wow,
ago.
almost 13 years ago.
Yeah, like yeah,
And looking back in hindsight, you know, I went to yoga because I was trying to heal my body
yeah.
um, from the cancer that I had. I had a cancer diagnosis in
Mhm.
2009 of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yeah.
And, you know, as you know, I said, what the heck happened here? How did I get this?
Hmm.
So I went into a rabbit hole and researched and found out there was a lot of toxic stuff I was eating from foods that I thought were, you know, good foods, you know, salads and, you know, I was eating meat and stuff, but, you know, I was eating a lot of pesticides. That's what I didn't know
Hmm.
in my food. And then 3 years after that, while I was in COVID, I found out that Roundup was also
Hmm.
a contributor of me having cancer.
Huge.
And with it was
That
yeah,
was
it was
huge.
huge. And so I joined the class action suit, and then they settled, which was, you know, a blessing in disguise as well, for me, you know, financially. It helped me a little bit. And I cleaned up my diet as soon as I found out that all these things, you know, were contributing to that. I met an educator, a health educator, and she said, "Stop eating sugar and stop eating red meat right now." I think so. I listened to her because I felt in my heart what she was telling me was true. And I had already researched a little bit about it. And
Yeah.
so I fell right into what she was telling me. And I lost 8 pounds and I
Wow.
felt really good. I learned how to, you know, cold plunge, and well, I did colonics with her. I went to the place in West Palm Beach that's called the Hippocrates Institute.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's changed so much since the day I went. It's huge now and
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Yeah, it's very in modern and everything's changed there. It looks really nice. I went and took a friend there. Um, and so I changed a lot of my habits. And I believe in my heart that changing all my habits helped me stay. Took me
Absolutely.
3 years to get my body back, you
Yeah,
know, and I did
because you did
yoga.
if I may, just to get that part in, you did Western plus alternative.
Exactly. I did do both. I was really afraid of the chemo, of all the things I had heard about it. And I was
Hmm.
going back and forth researching all the medications, what it does, what the benefits, you know, and all
Hmm.
that. And finally, a friend of mine who's a chemist said, you know, why don't you do both? Why don't you do the chemo
Hmm.
and the organic, you know, natural together so that you can,
Yeah.
help your immune system as you're going through this. And I did wheatgrass. I was introduced to wheatgrass so that after every chemo session, I would do a shot or two of the wheatgrass. And as I was going through the chemo, I think only one episode that my white blood cells went down. After that, you know, only one time. And I
It's
believe it had to do
interesting.
with,
Wow. I mean, but hearing you, I don't hear this from other people who take the alternate, the Western. Most of the time, what I hear is that that's what they do, and they go home and they just try to go through the whole process, which is, I mean, if you decide to do Western medicine, I mean, you have to do the alternative on the side because you have to bring your immune system up, correct?
yeah, well, that's what happens. See, what I've learned also over the years is a lot of these medicines that they give you for you, what your diseases that you have, the illnesses are even worse than the disease that you have. And a
Yeah.
lot of times people end up dying or getting really, really
Yeah.
bad because of the medicines, you know,
Let me
the
ask you then.
cocktails they're getting.
Yeah. Let me ask you then, after going through that, would you have done all alternative knowing what you know now?
No, I would have done, well, yes, but all alternative. I wouldn't have done the chemo.
You wouldn't have done the chemo.
But I didn't know enough. So I was like
Correct.
conflicted, you know,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
about a month.
Yeah.
When they gave me the diagnosis, he goes, yeah, you're gonna have to do this chemo. This is what you're gonna get, whatever. He gave me all the information. I said, okay, I'll be back. He goes, don't forget to schedule. I go, I will. And I left. And for a whole month, I went to Jamaica with my friend. She offered me a trip there. She'd come to Jamaica and whatever. And, you know, I smoked weed and I went into plunges and I did everything. And then I made my decision when I came back and I said, okay, when my friend said, do both, I said, okay, fine, that's what I'll do. I'll do both because I really didn't want to do it. I was really afraid. And then my friend said,
Yeah.
why don't you do both? And so the doctor goes, before I left, he goes, you're going to do fine. I said, I know I am. And I think my, my way of thinking, my decision in my heart
Yes.
that I
Yes.
knew, my
Yeah.
positive attitude.
Yeah.
I had a little pity party. I have to tell you, I did
Oh, I
cry. I
can
went to the
imagine.
floor
I can
and I
imagine,
said, I'm not ready yet. I
I
got too
know.
much to do.
Wow. Wow.
And after that 15 minutes in the bathroom, I picked myself up and I said, Mary, you're going to get through this. And that's it. And so
You
that
made a
was my
decision, and that's so
conviction.
crucial. What you just said is crucial. You made a decision, but that fear, I can imagine, to
Yeah, it was scary. It
it's
was freaking scary.
big.
I have to tell you, it was. And that C word scares a lot of people, but
Yeah, but
knowing
it's
what I know
changing
now,
now. Sorry,
yeah,
my
yeah,
cat wants to, I can't
wants
have
to
to,
join.
yeah,
Whoa, so
for a
cute.
little bit.
She's huge.
Yeah,
We
she's,
have two cats here too that newbie
yeah.
rescued. They're so adorable. They play with each other and run around the
Yeah, she
house.
wants
And
to come in for a little bit now, so let me just
oh,
let her be for a little
what's her
bit.
name?
But
I
Tutu,
forgot her name. Tutu.
yeah. So, so Mary, so this is crucial because now that after all these years that you've gone through yoga and
Yeah,
you
yoga was
started,
another
and then
beautiful.
2020
Yeah,
came, it's like it was compounding. It was like, now we have to really, we were seeing what was going on, and health is at the pivotal point of it because if you're not healthy, all
yeah.
this
Well,
doesn't
if your
matter.
immune system's already compromised,
Yeah.
anything you're going to get is going to really take you down. When your
Huh.
immune system is not balanced and not up
Yeah.
to par, any little thing that you come in contact with is going
Yeah.
to, yeah, yeah, it's
So
gonna
that's
be
the
horrible.
premise right there. And how do we have a compromised immune system? And as we were talking prior to coming in, we said and we both agree that stress is the number one
Yep,
thing.
stress is
And
the
it's
number one
stress,
thing.
yeah, and stress comes from, obviously it can be environmental,
Yeah,
exposure, stress, emotional, mental stress,
toxins in the
food
air.
stress, because if you're eating stuff that
Oh,
causes stress in the body,
yeah,
look at this
yeah.
one. She's grabbing my hand so I could touch her.
Pay
So
attention to me, she's saying.
yeah, she has, now she
She
wants the
wants
attention,
mommy.
not
Of
like
course.
an hour ago. So
Nope, on her terms.
so it's
Yeah,
it's it's so important to understand this because we had to learn the hard way. I mean, I had to be in an excessive amount of stress and anxiety in order to say to myself, okay, where did this start? Because I'm feeling horrible and all these symptoms that I'm getting, doctors were just not in tune to the body mind connection. So
no.
it was based on, medication. I mean, and I have to make a disclosure, no, disclaimer, let's put it that way, that obviously we're not doctors and blah, blah, blah. We're
Right.
just giving out our opinion,
These are
but
just our
this is our
experiences.
experience, that we had to learn the hard way to address and understand the mind and body connection, in order to see things differently and and hence how we went into the yoga, you
Yeah,
know.
but yoga was a really integral part of my healing as well because they were giving that to, people that were going through the surgeries and the chemo and everything. They were offering yoga for us. And I go, and I knew about yoga, but I had never done it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try it. This is in 2009
Wow.
and actually 2010 because 2009, let's see. Yeah, 2009. And I started doing the yoga and I felt so good. The body got strong. I was breathing correctly. I was learning the meditation to sit quietly and just, that whole hour just dedicated to myself really helped. And so after the chemo and I was cancer free, I started doing yoga at a local
Hmm.
studio in Coral Gables and I loved it. And I said to them, you know what? I want to become a teacher because I want to pay this forward. And they said to me, well, take the classes for about a year. Try our studio, see if you like our modality of yoga. And they were
Mm-hmm.
doing hatha yoga,
Awesome.
it's called tantric hatha because it incorporates breathing, meditation, and the poses. So we call it tantric. And I said, okay. So I kept taking the classes, and about a year went by, and I said, I want to take the teacher training. And it was very intense, and it was very,
Mm-hmm.
um, philosophy and the whole thing. I've delved right in, and I started teaching pretty much like right after I graduated. I started
Yeah.
teaching free classes at the hostel just to get my practice in, and get experienced. And here I am, like almost 13 years later, still teaching at the park. I
Yeah.
have a community class. I've been doing
Mm-hmm.
that forever in Doral on Saturdays, every other Saturday. I've done studio work, um, and I've done online. We had to go online at the time because when
Yeah.
COVID came, we all went online, and that was an experience. And it was
Yoga
okay.
online, yeah. You were
We
able
helped a lot of
to,
people that needed it. My
yeah.
class kept going. Dorel said, if you want to keep doing the class online, please, we'll still pay you, whatever. And I said, okay, yeah, of course. I was going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And they said, are you doing it? I said, yes. She said, well, we'll still pay you. I said, okay, that's awesome. And then, then when it was all cleared up, we went back, and now I'm doing, beautiful uh, workshops with art
Mm-hmm.
because I feel art is so creative and it helps stress and helps anxiety. And I just couple it with yoga, and it just opens up your creativity. And because that's it's all about now. And COVID gave us a moment to stay still, and a lot of
Yep.
people took
Yeah.
that and
Mhm.
ran with it and became, they quit their jobs and did what they loved. So I'm doing what I love. So, I retired from the day job that I had, and I'm just totally doing, yoga, and doing workshops. I did my first retreat 2 years ago, which was excellent. It came out so good. I was
That's-
like, I can't believe I did that, but I put it
That
on a
that
piece
was
of
amazing. It was a
paper.
beautiful
Good
place, and
journal, and write it down, everybody. Write it down. I wrote it down, and 5 years later, there it was.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was. I'm sorry I missed it. I think, in the midst of
I'm going to
my
do another one. No worries. I'm going to do another one. I'm going to do another one. So maybe in your area or maybe closer, so you just could
absolutely,
drive to it. Because I'm sure there's a
absolutely,
lot of beautiful places on the West Coast.
absolutely. It's just amazing.
We
I
should
think
do
that's
one
when
together, actually.
absolutely, yeah,
Right? If you're doing the
yeah,
singing bowls, because I know you're doing some singing bowls, and
yeah.
I had the
That's
drum. We can do some really, really beautiful
get those
sound
oils in
healing
as well.
with the oils in as well. That's
Getting all
another
the senses
component.
involved.
Yes.
That's very
Yeah.
important. I mean, as I was telling you beforehand, one of the reasons why I brought you in, because obviously we're kind of in that track as well in a different way, but we're navigating in that health and awareness and spiritualness and connecting and it's
Yeah.
what I think this is the moment where that's the main focus. Thank goodness the truth is coming out like
Yeah.
the floodgates are open. So
The
so now
truth is
it's
coming
like,
out.
okay, now that the heaviness that we had, in 2020 is actually right now, giving us the opportunity to say, okay, take a breather and say, okay, now, this is where we want to go. And I totally love the idea of doing a workshop with you. It would be amazing because again, like I was saying, the six
Yes.
senses is something that I talk about a lot, especially with my Buddhist practice and because it's been a foundation, but everyday
Sure.
life, everybody's using their six senses. So
Yes.
if we're able to refine those and clear them and detox and getting into that detox I did, I'll talk about it in a bit. But if we can focus on that and be aware of what comes in through these senses, it's what's going to come out. So imagine,
What goes in must come out, right?
exactly. And that's huge because then if you are taking care of those areas, then whatever you see outside makes more sense. Um, because if you're bombarded and clogged up, let's put it that way, with literally with either food that's not digesting, information that's not conducive to your mental and emotional health, um, things that we're inhaling, things that we're putting on the skin. I mean, all these things become layers and layers and layers of top of things, and
Yeah.
then your body's like, okay, I cannot I cannot eliminate this because you're bombarding me with all these stuff, and then we're wondering why we can't go to the bathroom or I mean, sorry to tell you that, but
No, it's true.
those are
Your
the things
inner
that
landscape reflects your outer landscape. Whatever's
exactly,
going on in here will reflect on
exactly,
the outside.
exactly.
That's how it is. It
Yeah,
really is that way.
absolutely. So I try to, follow that premise. And like we mentioned, stress is if we can address the stress, that's like they say that's 95% of our
It is.
illness is
Yeah.
stress. So if you can hone down on stress, that's a
Yeah.
huge start. So you have done yoga for not only, um, for, all levels kind of, right? But
Yeah, I
you
do different modalities. Yeah,
correct.
I do mostly all levels, and I do hatha, which is the primary. I do yin yoga, and I do restorative, which actually was my first love.
Yeah,
That's how I
me
came
too.
into yoga. It was to
Yeah,
restorative to restore my body,
correct.
and I love it. I love if I could do
Yeah.
classes like that, I would. Whoops, almost lost my balance
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
both agree on that. That's where we kind of
it's such, it's such a healing
Mhm.
modality. It really, really is.
I think
Because
that's the I guess for me and I think for you is like the most important part of it. I think yoga is going back to that because there's so many variations of it through the years that it kind of became like a
yeah, there's
thing.
yoga for everything now. There's
Yeah,
hot yoga, yin yoga,
yeah,
forest yoga. I mean, there's so many, but
yeah.
the traditional 5,000, now it's probably more years than that.
Yeah.
Yoga was hatha, sun moon,
Hmm.
and started from there. And then there's also, I
Classical.
think the one,
Yeah.
yeah, the classical from India, which is what is the gentleman that did the
Iyengar.
no, not Iyengar. He's a male
Well, it's
Indian
hard for me to pronounce their
Guru.
names. I always forget. I always
Well, he started this. It's a very strenuous yoga, but it's good for younger people. Forgot the name of it. What's the name of it?
the hot yoga, the other guy.
No, no. His grandson just actually his grandson just passed away, and I
Really?
forgot his name. He lived in India. He had an ashram in India, and people learned this, and he really did it for 13-year-old boys to get them off the street. And it's the same poses, and they have like different
Well, it's just a
levels.
sequence and it keeps going. Just
Ashtanga
Ashtanga. Oh
yoga.
yeah, I
Yeah,
had that's what I was thinking about, but I couldn't remember.
yeah. It was actually for 13-year-old boys. I know older people do it too. It's very strenuous. I don't do it for myself. If I was younger, maybe.
Yeah,
And I
yeah, it's
know
very
people who still
yeah,
do it.
yeah, it's very athletic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
but there's
But
all
it's good for the young generation. I think it's
it
great
keeps your
for
mind
young kids.
focused. Yeah, it's a
Well,
great
yoga means yoke, right? For the
to
mind, body.
yeah,
It incorporates your mind, your body, and your
yeah,
spirit.
to
And people think it's a religion. It's not. It's a
no.
science. Some people
Yeah,
I know some people who have deities when they're doing it, and it can
correct.
get like that, just
Yeah.
like anything else. But the
Hmm.
traditional yoga from India was Hatha yoga, and it was Sun Moon yoga, and it was translated from teacher to teacher to the student
Yeah,
through
with
mouth. It wasn't written
Patanjali
until Patanjali wrote it. Yeah.
into a
The
eight
Yoga
limbs.
Sutras are awesome.
Yeah,
I would love to do a class. Just if you focus on
yeah,
Sutra number two, I mean, trying to abolish the mind body, that gets into mind and kind of gets you all crazy. If you can control that, that's number two. Then you've done yoga, right?
yeah.
That's what they say.
Well, the
But
purpose,
yeah,
the end purpose is to come into
to be present in the moment,
samadhi,
to
into a position where you can
be
come
still in
together.
the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
come into
instead of worrying
nirvana.
about
Yeah,
tomorrow and whatever happened, we can't do anything about that. And that's where stress comes in. You worry about what you did 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Could be traumatic, yes. and then you worry about the future, and then what happens to the present? You're not here. So the present just disappears, and you go, well, where did life go? It's happened to
Exactly.
me. I'm sure it's happened to you. And so now I am being more present every day with myself, and it's okay just not to do anything. I'm
Yeah,
practicing mindfulness. I'm practicing just being still, maybe just reading, or maybe coloring and staying in the moment, or maybe just sitting in a chair and just loving on the sun that's warming my body, and the sky and the clouds. Just noticing every little thing is so beautiful. And the day goes by so slowly, and you really enjoy it because, 9 o'clock comes around and you go, wow, what a day. If I'm just practicing that more now because obviously I'm not working during the day and I get to tell myself when I want to do what I want to do, which is
wow.
fabulous.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I worked for 50 years just,
Wow.
as you did.
Yeah,
And I know you're working now, but it's a little bit different than the corporate,
correct.
and so you get time to yourself and to enjoy life. And I think everybody
It's just a
should.
different, it's the way it should be lived, I
The way
think.
it should be lived.
Yeah,
Yeah, we should have lived that way, but
yeah,
we didn't know any better.
correct.
That's how we grew up. You got to get a job, you got to pay your bills, and then we consume so that we have to pay the bills and buy stuff we really don't need. And it's like,
Crazy.
but you
It's
know what? It's
crazy.
never too late to, like, yeah, it was
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah, now we
it,
know better,
yeah,
right? And,
we
and I
know.
think that's what COVID did. It took us back a step,
Yeah,
and let us realize, like, okay, it gave us time to, like, take a breath, look
yeah.
around, and say, oh my God, I can do things
Exactly three
differently.
months, right? It was 3 months. Remember? I think it was 3 months for you too, that
For
we were
what?
off. 3 months off.
For
20.
work?
Yeah. For me, it was
Well, no,
like
I
three
was never
months.
off. I kept working, but I worked from home.
Correct.
Yeah, they sent me
Yeah.
home. Yeah.
I was off completely, and it
Yeah,
was
well, they had,
just,
because you were working at
and
a store, and you
yeah,
you couldn't do that from
I was
home,
doing
right? So
sales.
that you
Yeah.
had to stop working, right?
Yeah.
So
The
it gave
police
you a
came
chance
and
to,
knocked on the
huh?
door. The police came because we're not, they were trying to be essential, but we weren't. But crazy,
Yeah,
crazy times. But yeah, you prove a very important point there is that that year was so pivotal for those that were already starting to kind of see the light, kind of like, honing in. But that was just the perfect time to take that time.
yeah,
Even though, it definitely in some way hurt businesses and schooling and so forth.
yeah,
But in a bigger picture, it really gave us, like you said, time to really step back and say, okay, what's
yeah. That was the
what's
bigger
really
picture
going
for
on here?
sure.
Because now we're not running. We're not like chickens without a head running
Yeah,
around.
we're not like on a time clock. Like, you got to go here, you got
Yeah, we
to
gotta
be
go to
here.
work. I gotta go cook. I gotta,
Yeah,
and people who have
it was
children,
always,
I don't know how they do it. It's just,
yeah.
it's
Yeah, I
crazy.
remember those days too when my daughter
Yeah.
was young. It was like, run, run, run here, go pick her up here, go to work. You got to do this. It was those years went by fast because of that. And I look back and I tell everybody, take it slow, don't rush. Enjoy
Yeah,
each moment because you don't get that back.
absolutely.
That minute we just went by, we don't get that back.
Yeah. I want to emphasize though that you did some yoga, trauma yoga. Is that correct? For a little
I
bit?
took some. I took a workshop, trauma informed workshop. And
Mm-hmm.
then, like, a year later, from the same Adrian Molina, he did a 200-hour trauma informed yoga. And I took that online because we were still home from COVID. So
Mm.
I'm a trauma informed yoga teacher now. I have been for the last, what, 3 years?
And
Yeah.
that's very important because when you have a class, when I taught, there's different situations going on. So you have to recognize by certain things, when someone is in need of a different type of assistance, or if the class is made specifically for that. But at the same time, right, you have to kind of be aware of certain
Yeah.
signs.
Well, yeah, it makes you more aware. It makes you more aware that they are out there.
Hmm.
And more than anything, it teaches you conscious languaging. And it because things can trigger people. So as I'm teaching my class, I'm
Hmm.
consciously teaching my class. Like, let's just say in the yoga pose, a lot of times they'll say, hey, take your right grab your right ankle, and that word grab can trigger someone that's been in a traumatic situation. So instead of using that word, I'll say place your hand on the left ankle and twist and this and that. So conscious languaging is really pivotal in my teaching. And I had already started doing that even before I took that. It's just the way I teach. Because I know there's a lot of classes back in the day that would, they would use cuss words and say, hey, move into this position, you're not doing it wrong. And I've never taught like that. Never, never. But you see, yeah, back in
Yeah.
the day, like, I can mention a couple of yoga teachers that used to do that, but I won't do
Yep.
that because
No, I
that's not what
know.
this is about.
I'm like,
But
I was like, what?
oh yeah. And so I
That
even
was a
went
little
to a class.
confusing.
I went to a Yinger class in a studio once, and I think I did a position, and you know how you're sometimes your bones pop, whatever, you're
Yeah,
adjusting yourself.
absolutely.
Well, you're doing it wrong because that shouldn't have happened. Like that's not something you say to somebody, but that's what happened, and that's what some of these classes, these teachers are doing or have been doing. I don't know about now. I haven't been in a yoga studio, and I do want to go back to yoga, and I want to do it for myself. I want to find a good class. But
Yeah.
yeah, and but I'm not about that. I'm about, this is, for you. And I teach classes from the standpoint of beginner yoga. I focus on the beginner because everybody else that knows yoga knows what to do. So I focus on the beginner,
Hmm.
and I use conscious languaging so people feel comfortable in my class and they like to come. Nobody wants to be shouted out. And then and I've also learned from my teacher in my original 200 hour that I took back in 2011 that don't call anybody out. If you see something, just say, hey, remember to move your, and don't call anybody out. Just if you see it, they'll say, hey, remember to move your foot this way. Remember to put your foot this way. Remember to relax. Remember to uh focus your eyes on the floor. And if you see people looking at, remember
Yeah,
you're
you have
supposed
to
to eat
be
on the
aware
floor.
of their, you have to
You
be
have to be aware of
conscientious
your
about,
class. So
yeah,
that's why I tell people when you want to learn yoga, either you do a one-on-one or a small class so that the teacher
correct.
can pay attention to your
Hmm.
to your posture, make sure you're doing it correctly and you're not hurting yourself.
Correct.
You take it online and you know what you're doing, the person online is, not seeing what's happening. And, once you learn and everything, then you can go ahead and do that. But I always say just take a one-on-one or a small yoga class and a beginner's class and do beginners for a long time. And I love to teach beginners. I really do. That's just me. I love to teach the beginner and make sure they're doing it correctly. Some
Absolutely. I think
people,
that's the
I'm not about,
foundation is important.
on my head or, those
Well,
kinds of
at
things.
the
I
end,
leave that to the
yoga's,
youth.
yeah, at the end of that, yoga is not about the fancy
It's
poses.
not
It's
about the
about
fancy poses.
actually being
Yeah.
centered, heart and mind, and
Really going within
yeah, to,
and and seeing how you're feeling, and and each pose is different for everybody, and I always also have props. I love to have props because what I can may do, I may be able to go down, another person may not be able to. So if you're seeing that, offer them a block or a pillow or a bolster,
hmm,
or offer them another pose. Like a lot of people can't do pigeon. It's very hard. So
yeah,
I teach them log, which you're still getting the stretch within,
hmm,
your
yeah,
legs and stuff. And
yeah. It's
you're
modifying,
doing different
modifying the
yeah,
pose for,
modifications are
yeah,
very important when you're teaching your class with I have a lot of people there. Like I get people from all parts. So I get older people, I get young people.
so you have to start kind of
Yeah, I have
level.
people
Yeah,
that came and sat in a chair, and I would work with them
yeah,
there,
yeah,
and to do yoga on the chair because they're older and they
absolutely,
can't be on the floor. Yeah, so you have
absolutely.
to adapt. Yeah,
So besides yoga, obviously you've incorporated the food, which is an important factor, but you
yeah.
incorporate another element, which I love too, this is sense of smell. So you
Oh yeah,
incorporated
essential
essential
oils.
oils, not only
Yep.
for the sense of smell, but it goes through the skin. So um, it's an amazing element that can be
Yeah,
incorporated not only, in our lives, but I used to incorporate it in the classes as well,
yeah.
to incorporate all these senses to actually it helps for especially those that are very,
Anxious or
anxious
nervous,
and
it
active,
relaxes
just to
them.
make,
Yeah,
you try to close in all those senses in a class or it helps amazing because they're
Yeah.
disconnected with the smell, with your voice,
Yeah,
with the
you hit them with
pose.
all the modalities. Yeah. It
So
takes a village, right? It takes a village. And I think it's really amazing how these oils work in the hippocampus. They go right into the brain. If you're inhaling them from a diffuser in your hands, 26 seconds they're already in permeating all of your cells. Like this
nervous
last
system.
I do a boot camp for a friend of mine who helps underprivileged children. She
Hmm.
has a non-for-profit organization called Catwalk Pros, boot camp beyond the runway. And what we do is we help these kids. She teaches them how to eat and properly, their forks,
Nice.
etiquette, how to
Hmm.
dress, how to present themselves. And I do the health and wellness part of it. And I teach them yoga, how yoga can help stress and anxiety if they're on the runway or running from here to there. Not even if they're going to be a model, they could take it into their lives, whatever they're going to
Nice.
do, you know.
Completely.
And I have incorporated art as well because it's very creative and it's also a way of,
Which is
resolving stress.
excellent. It's the visual part of it, you know.
Yeah, and it gives them confidence, because I have like 50 projects that I can use and for different people that I've learned
So
that I incorporate in these workshops. So yeah, I'm super excited. It's called Yoga Art, my little baby.
yoga art, that's a good
Yoga
one.
and art.
So dear, how would you agree? Because one of the things that I've learned going through similar situation, because I had other ailments that I was able to deal with through yoga, through stillness, through chanting and the oils. I mean, um, one of the things that I learned was to become aware of my symptoms, to be in tune
Yeah.
with what I
Yeah.
was feeling and ask questions, because most of the time what we would do is just say, I have this stomach ache. And the first thing, if it doesn't go away in 2 days or three, you go to the doctor, but you don't kind of reverse engineer to understand, okay, I did this or I did that.
Right.
So one of the things that I was able to hone in was honing into my body. Okay, my body's communicating, right?
Yeah. It's communicating with you all
It's
the time.
communicating with me, and it's not bad, because we got used to freaking out. I was like, that's what I was used to. Oh, if you have this, especially watching commercials on TV, if you have symptoms of this, this, and that, you might want to get this medication and go to your doctor. So you're like,
Meanwhile, they're in a small little voice. They're
yeah,
talking about all of
the
the
side
negative
effects.
stuff
So
that
the
happens,
medicate,
side
yeah.
effects.
So, obviously, who would not freak out? And then your subconscious, like, well, I have that. So that means that I should go to the doctor. But it can be as simple as what you ate the day before
Oh yeah, or what you smelled,
and what you
or what you put
smell.
on your body.
Correct. So, have you been able to hone into that awareness now more?
Yeah, I know that exactly what I ate, what made my body feel because I'm so in tune to what I'm eating now. Now that I've turned vegan, I know that there's certain things that
Yep.
I said that's what did it because I'm in tune and I'm saying okay,
Yep.
my body's telling me this. All right, so I have an oil for that. I have an oil for
Yep.
everything.
I have my
And the
oils
oils have
too.
been my best friends, I'm telling you, for so many things. And
I call it
obviously,
my cabinet, my medicine cabinet.
yeah, that's
It's
my
my
medicine
oils.
cabinet. That's my pharmacy. I don't go
That's
to the
my farm.
pharmacy. I
Yeah.
go there.
Yep.
Of course, medical is needed when it's needed,
Correct.
obviously. We're not going to discount that.
Correct.
There's times you're going to need it. But
Yeah.
for the most part, for preventative, oils is my go-to. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
I've
and
done
of
so
course,
many things
taking
with
care
those
of what I
oils. It's
eat,
amazing.
the
Yeah.
detoxing, taking care of your health,
Yeah. Actually.
exercising. I've also incorporated weight training now. I work out
Hmm.
and I feel so much better because as you get older, things start, your bones and your muscles start to weaken. We don't want that. That's how you fall and break a hip and then you're out of commission.
Yes.
So I'm not
Absolutely.
doing that.
Well, I'm
So
prone
you have
to
to
that
incorporate
because
that.
I see it all the time in my industry with home care. It's
I'm
just,
sure.
yeah. But
Yeah.
going into, you mentioned the word detox, which I wanted to talk about. I was going to actually do this interview last week, and I had a major reaction towards the detox I was doing. I started with intermittent fasting, and then all of us, which is reducing the time of hours that you eat, from like 8 to 6 to 4. And then eventually went into liquids, like juice and then water. But when I started to do the juice and then the water, I had this severe
Mm.
sinus headache that I called you. I was kind of like, oh, it'll go away, go away. And then I'm Mary, I gotta go. And that's when everything went out of my system, literally.
Oh, yeah, I think that was a detox
That was a major
reaction.
one.
Yeah,
That was a
yeah,
major reaction. I was like, oh my gosh. And I highly recommend everyone to do this because it resets, literally resets you.
yes.
The more you do it, the better your body
Yeah.
responds and
Take
the
it
stronger.
slow
Yeah,
and yeah, have someone guide you if you haven't done it before. But
correct.
it's really good to detox. Some people do it 4 times a year for
Yeah.
the seasons. I don't do it quite that much, but that's not a
Hmm.
bad idea. But yeah, it's good to like, we really don't need to be eating all that much. We eat way too much
No,
as a society.
yeah.
And
That's what I've
yeah,
learned. Reducing, you can eat 2 meals is actually fine with maybe a little fruit in between. There's really no need for three. I mean, from I think
yeah,
you and I
no, I have
agree on
fruit in the
that.
morning and then I have my salad and
Yeah.
whatnot in the afternoon. Sometimes
Yeah.
I
The
have that
body
one
works better
salad at two,
in
3 o'clock,
less.
and then I don't eat again till the next day. It's
Yeah. That's
perfectly
one of the
fine.
best things that you can do. But eat obviously good
Yeah,
nutrition.
yeah. You need to good,
And
yeah.
yeah.
Lots of fruit
And
and veggies and,
hmm
yeah.
so I think that that's something that, that we've learned, especially doing the yoga and becoming more aware of
Yeah.
ourselves and our surroundings. And just getting to know, instead of going into which I don't condemn it to going to a doctor's office, especially if it's a good doctor. If you're going to go to a good doctor who has
Yeah.
that
Make
mind
sure
and
you
body
have someone good.
connection.
Yeah.
But we drop our body like I have this thing of like going to the mechanic and dropping off the car, and then you just like pick it up when when
When
you're
it's
done.
ready.
Just call me when you're done. That's how I feel sometimes because when you go there, it's like, it's a disconnect, and it doesn't. But I feel that there's definitely changes going on.
Yes. We've got Mr. RFK
Yep.
on the job now, and I'm so happy. I'm super excited for what's to come. He's already removing things from schools, and he's removing certain franchises that shouldn't not be around or should have never been around. And they're
Yeah,
closing
the
those up. So,
NGOs,
and
non-governmental organizations. So yeah, obviously you don't hear it as much as the other stuff that's going on, but it's definitely happening. And
yeah,
it's a cleanup that is so necessary because it's been unfortunately a revolving door of becoming or just continuing a sick cycle, being a sick person
yeah,
cycle.
yeah, yeah,
It's not meant to really take you out. It's meant to continually have you in
yeah.
there.
It was never meant to
It was
heal
never,
you or make you feel better. It was just to put a band-aid on it and keep going, and then you have to go back.
and
And
dumbing
yeah,
us down because if would you agree that if we would been taught to understand our body, to understand how it works together with the mind and
and
our
to get the proper
environment,
nutrition.
I think we would be able to take care of a lot of things beforehand
Yes.
in order.
Preventative health is top. Yeah,
That's a
preventative health
top,
is top.
that's a,
Yeah,
that's definitely
yeah.
the top of the top right now because, I mean, I clench my teeth when I hear the stuff that was done. I'm not going to go over it because it doesn't, at this
I
point,
think our
it
audience
is,
is probably so aware
yeah,
of it by now, that
yeah,
all the stuff that's come out. Yeah,
absolutely. And the other thing that I think it's important is to be able to embrace aging gracefully, don't you think? I think that's
yes,
something that you started doing, um,
yeah. You know, all these young girls are doing a lot of Botox and a lot of fillers.
especially in
And
the area that you live, where I used to live in Miami
oh my
Beach.
God,
It's
yeah, you see these girls with
yeah,
these huge lips and stuff, and they're so young. And then you see the older as well, and you can see it. And what they're doing is they're putting all this poison inside of their skin. And what I'm finding out now is it's even worse to do that because you have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
and then you're stretching your skin and it's going to get worse. So you have to put more in. So you end up looking like a monster. It's there's so many natural things you can do. Like I do gua sha. I
Yeah.
use a
Gotcha.
serum. There's MDs, cosmetologists or how do you call it? Doctors of the skin that
Hmm.
have come out with really good creams that you can
Dermatologists.
use now. Yeah,
There's,
dermatologists.
mhm.
Eating well, lots of water. There's a beautiful, I listen to Barbara O'Neill a lot, and she has so many beautiful natural modalities. And the new one that I've heard is, I always heard about lemon and water, hot lemon and water, but you add turmeric in it. It's
Mhm.
great for the skin,
To
and
consume it, right?
yeah, it's like a tea, and the first thing you drink in the morning is that. And then you wait
Because it
about
all starts
15 minutes.
inside. I mean, you can do
All
all
starts
this,
inside.
you can
Yeah.
do all this
What's
outside, but if
inside
your
comes
inside
out.
is, it
And so
doesn't,
that's what I've done. I've done natural, gua sha and just eating well. And, I do
and
facials
embracing,
maybe
I
every
don't,
6 months
I mean,
and
eventually,
embracing my age.
yeah,
I'm 65. I don't mind saying it. I'm
you look
65.
amazing.
I
You
feel
look
great.
amazing. 65, I mean,
I'm 65. I can't believe it. Uh,
yeah.
I've always, and that's never bothered me, the age, it's never bothered me. I've always said it's a number, and, you're as young as you feel. And I feel like I'm young. I don't know what 65 is supposed to be like. I know I don't want to be in a wheelchair, and I don't want to be in a, baston, I go to, like I was telling my friend the other day, we go to concerts where there's a lot of my peers there, my age, and I don't look like any of them.
Wow.
A lot of them are heavy and overweight. They can't walk. They're in wheelchairs. They
Wow.
have some kind of, yeah. And I go, oh my God, that's not how we're supposed to look like. But of course, they never took care of themselves. And that's how they got there,
Yeah.
and I did. And I had an illness. And I said, this is not going to get me down. I got to find a way to, and, if you're going through that season of life where you do have something you're battling, you have to do something that feels right too. So at the
Mhm.
time when I took that decision to do both, that felt right for me. Now, if I have something like that, maybe it'll be something different, but it has to feel right. You can't be pushed into stuff, and some people want to go for the chemo. Go, okay, well, then support your immune system if you're going to do
Correct.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that feels right for you right now and you don't want to stress that, then do this, because you can't make people do what they don't want to do, right? They have to feel comfortable in that.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody's in their journey, so you can only try to, give your advice. It's like I had, unfortunately,
Yeah,
through the course of 2020 now, I had a few friends who are not with me
I
anymore
know,
due
I
to the
know.
fact that they,
You tried to
and
help
it
them, I
wasn't
remember.
nothing to do with the
No,
C19. It was just unfortunately due to, other things that I won't get into, but
right.
it is hard to see how, the nerves and the fear gets you to the point of going to do those, um, Western ways that obviously does not support your immune system. It actually does the opposite.
Yeah,
So not only is your body trying to help you, but you're actually attacking the body to not help itself. I mean,
yeah.
does it make sense?
Yeah, you're putting stuff in your body that's not really going to help. I mean, to some degree, like I said, sometimes for the type of cancer
For
that I
you.
had, it said that it would help me. But you know what? Then I read something that said, oh, if you do the wheatgrass, it's going to counteract. And that's so there's a lot of, you have to really be in tune to your body and in tune to information, and really listen. So I read a lot of books. I did a lot of back work before I even took that decision. And then I made the decision. So don't rush into anything. I mean, of course, there's
Yeah,
situations where they say, oh, you have to hurry up. Don't let anybody rush you into anything. Feel comfortable about what you're doing. Do your research. Reach out to people who know what they're doing, and get one, two, even three opinions. I had a friend who was going to do radiation, and I said, "Do you sure you need that radiation? I would get another opinion." So she went and got another opinion, and the doctor said, "You don't need radiation."
wow,
She goes, "Thank God I listened to you," she said. I said,
wow.
"Yes, you need, if they all said, okay, you need it, but that stuff is just devastating on the body. It burns you inside out. It's horrible.
No, I
There's,
see it all the time with some of my clients that have gone to chemo, and it's heartbreaking because they're in pain. and they're following the complete protocol, and there's no
You're in
backup
fear.
to,
They get you in fear. Oh, you
yeah,
have to do this. And I didn't rush to go back. And I said, I just told her, I said, so what if I don't do anything? She goes, well, you'll eventually, die. It'll take you. And I said, okay, whatever. And I went and did my thing. And then I went back after I made a decision. I wasn't going to have him rush, because the one thing that my type of cancer was, it was indolent, it was slow growing. And there's some people that have a fast. So I had time, you know. But even in that, saying that, still do something that feels good to you. And a lot of people go to Mexico now. We have, because we can't have those things in the States yet. So they have
yeah,
clinics like what was the German doctor that his daughter actually just passed away,
person.
Charlotte
She
Gerson.
passed away.
She passed away. She was in
Oh,
her 80s and she was still out there,
speaking. Wow. Charlotte
doing workshops and
Pearson.
stuff.
Yeah.
Charlotte Gerson.
Yeah, I
That
listened to her a
doctor,
lot.
through minerals and to the way you ate, through uh whatchamacallit,
Chelation
supplements and
thing,
things. Yeah, he was able to bring people from their stage 4 cancer, whatever they had,
through
and he was
through
helping
juice.
people. He was
Yeah.
healing people.
Through juicing, through it's cold pressed juicing,
Cold pressed
greens
juicing,
and
yeah,
coffee, organic coffee
coffee
enemas. That was his
enemas,
combination. That was his
and then
combination.
and supplements
Yeah.
too. He
Yeah.
added
Yeah.
supplements to that, and people
Yeah.
were like feeling amazing after that,
Yeah. I
and
mean, unfortunately, because of the food industry has lost a lot of the nutrients
well,
that
because
are
of our
essential.
ground, our
Yeah.
our 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 ground and
Our
the
earth.
dirt is all,
Everything has been compromised, layered,
depleted.
from the top to the bottom to the top. So you're depleted. You even though even sometimes even if you're trying to eat better, there's still need of
Yeah,
certain supplementation, natural, you know.
natural.
Um,
Yeah.
I had an experience, I'll tell it briefly. I was because talking about awareness of your symptoms, I started to get jittery and kind of anxious, and I thought I was going to have a panic attack, but I'm like, wait a second, there's nothing that's triggering that I am aware of, right? So I
Right.
started this questioning, and okay, what is it that I'm missing? I'm missing something in my body that is making me react this way. So of course I started to dig in, and I should have remembered this, but I forgot. But you can be low in iron, potassium,
Hmm.
magnesium, and it can
Yep.
give you symptoms of
Headaches.
anxiety.
Yes. No
So,
sleep.
and I was getting no sleep too. Actually, I was getting,
Yeah. And you don't
very
sleep, you
radical
never get.
sleeping. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it happened like last week, I guess during the whole detox and all that.
Yes.
So everything just
Everything
came in.
happened.
But look what I did. I mean, obviously, I was able to. I said, okay, let me see if this works because I didn't. I'm thinking, am I hypoglycemic? Am I not eating? During a certain time that it's making So I'm all analyzing all this
Okay.
stuff. So guess what I did? I took a tablespoon of blackstrap molasses,
Mm,
and that is rich in magnesium, potassium, iron,
there you go.
and it's a natural source. And
Natural source.
guess what? It went away. And I'm like,
There you
okay.
go. That's what you were
So
low in.
I was low in because I don't eat meat, red meat. So I used to get, my shots once a month with my
Yeah.
acupuncturist to just in case to get me the B12. But I don't see her anymore because I was in Miami. But then I said, okay, something is missing in me that I need to put back in because it's either something you have that shouldn't be there or something that's missing and you need
That
to
should be
plug it
there.
back in there. So this is why I'm so passionate about health because you can get your power back by understanding a little bit more of how the body, works, at least the basics and listening
Yeah,
to
your
it.
own body.
Yeah,
What
and
you're
understanding, okay, why do I have, a headache or why do I, have a stomach or, inquire and you'd be surprised that you'll get answers. And if you do a little search, and of course, if this is something that's continuing and it's doesn't go away, then obviously you need to get it checked out. But most likely there's something missing or there's something that you shouldn't be taking. What
Yeah,
do you think?
for
Makes
sure.
sense,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, Johnny, I can talk about it, and I think we both can talk about this for a long
Forever.
forever and ever and ever. But with this new administration, and especially with Robert F. Kennedy coming in, how did you to actually close up a little bit here? How do you see the future with
Very bright,
isn't
very
it?
bright. I
I'm
feel so
excited.
good for our kids, for our grandkids
Yeah,
that are starting school, even to the education, all that's going to change for the better. And we're already seeing some of the changes, and I'm super excited. So
just
excited.
have to keep ourselves in the higher ground,
Yep.
and
It's going to happen
yeah,
slowly, but it is going to happen. And so just keep yourself up tuned to everything, and know that things changes are coming.
excellent.
And so life is going to be really good for our kids and for us as well, but they're going to really feel it because they're young, and they're going to get them while they're young. And I'm so happy for my grandkids and
And
kids in
for our
general,
future and for the rest of our years that we have to,
and for the rest of the years we have. Yeah. And who knows how long we're going to be here,
I
because
know, maybe
back in the
longer than
day,
we,
people lasted a long time, and that's
maybe
really, nobody
longer.
should be dying in their 60s unless, they had a car accident or something drastic like
Mhm.
that. But we should be living well into our 90s and maybe 100 as well.
Yeah,
I've known people who have, and that should be
and
the norm.
healthy
And
and
healthy,
live, but
exactly, healthy.
healthy, healthy. Thank you so much. I'm glad we talked. It's been a while.
Yeah, it
I
has.
think we
I'm
may
so glad
be
we did.
we'll probably do maybe another one in reference to a specific subject
I'd
because
be
there's
happy
so
to.
much things, to unpack with what we've learned so far and what we can continue to learn about. And like you said, the future looks amazing, and I can't believe we always like pinching ourselves. Are we living in this time?
I
After all
know.
that happened, after
After all
looking
that,
back to everything that you and I and
we went through the
everybody's,
dark night of the soul there.
yeah,
I
we
think we
have
all did, and now we're coming out. We're slowly coming out, and I'm super
coming
happy.
out. We're coming out. Awesome. Sounds like that Diana Ross. I'm coming out. You know that song?
I'm coming out.
I
So
love it.
everybody,
I
I'm
love
coming
that
out.
song. Well, darling, thank you so much. And we'll keep in
Thank
touch.
you.
And thank you for joining me here. Okay.
It's been a pleasure.
Love
I
you.
had a lot of fun. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for joining us and stay tuned for my next video.